Manus flat on the canvas. We are ready to rock and roll. Second round of action. There is a cut on Manus.
Yeah. Jesus.
Martial Arts Chat.
My man B-Hop got dropped out the ring last night. I need a little judo baby. I need me a little judo baby, and let's do it, Ron. Let's give me
a... See what filming this? You've got a face for radio.
I've got a face for radio.
That's nice.
Martial Arts Chat.
Martial Arts Chat.
Martial Arts Chat.
Hello, welcome to Martial Arts Chat Podcast. On tonight's show, we're reacting to last night's UFC 243 in Melbourne, headlined down under by Adesanya Whittaker for the undisputed middleweight crown. Later in the show, answering your fan questions. Thanks to everyone that got in touch. And we've got an awesome panel here tonight. Before I introduce the guys, quick shout out to our sponsors, A1 Fight Gear. A1 Fight Gear use the latest cutting edge boxing gloves for professional and amateur fighters, gym enthusiasts and kickboxers. Local and national gyms in the UK, do yourselves a favour, go check out a1fightgear.com. If you want to get in shape, get back in shape, or just keep trimming the fat off, then go to beastgear.co.uk and use the coupon code MartialArtsChat. If you do that, you'll save 15% off your purchases for core sliders, straps, barbell pads, strength and conditioning programs, all at different levels to suit your needs. Beast your goals with beastgear.co.uk. We're also sponsored by Feel Supreme. FeelSupreme.co.uk offers CBD oil and natural nutrition. They will assess your progress in diet and lifestyle, natural supplements and complementary services such as yoga, mind coaching and weight cutting programs. And finally, we're also sponsored by World of Martial Arts Television. WOMA.tv produces, finds, acquires, commissions and presents all you ever wanted to know about martial arts. And so to our panel here today, the greatest thing out of Lubbock, Texas, always a pleasure to have him on. It's my man, Mr. Kevin Jones. Kev, how are you, sir?
I'm doing great, man. It's still hot in West Texas in October, so can't complain.
Happy days, man. Happy days. Good to have you back, brother. Welcome a man who's always over the top and under the influence from MMA on the rocks. It's Mr. Bill Welker. Bill, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing well, John. Much better than you doing that Sober October over there. Because I'm sipping on a nice whiskey here and about getting ready to talk about some fights.
Oh, man. Sucks to be you. It sucks to be me. Great to be you, I guess. From a awesome MMA Power Hour, returning to the round table, it's Mr. Colin Crandall. Colin, how are you, sir?
Doing very well, John. Very happy to be here, and I think your show is one of the best out there.
Oh, pleasure, my man. Pleasure. Last week we had, what did we have? Iron Sheik's Boner, Chris Benoit. We had the lot, man. We had all the chat from Mick Tully, and he's rejoining us for this one. Mick, thank you so much for coming back on.
No problem, man. I'm going to behave myself. Hopefully, I've unfortunately I have cracked open. I'm not doing sober October, man. I'm going completely the way, man. I'm going to get out of my face October. So I'm literally right now sipping on an IPA. Probably the finest in it's a Lagunitas. Probably the finest in its price range. So if Lagunitas are listening in and they want to throw a few cases my way,
right.
Yeah, and then send me straight to the dialysis unit in about 3 weeks. I'll be up for that.
Superb, man. Gentlemen, last night down under, we saw some tidy finishes, solid performances. We said on the preview show, wasn't that really a stat card, but it certainly delivered. We'll say that. We'll get some reactions starting with the heavyweights, where Tai Tuivasa opened up powerful leg kicks, and then it was game over for him after that. He got taken down. Those judo hip tosses, a big Ukrainian polar bear, Sergei Spivak, I hope I'm saying that right. Let's get reaction with our panel. We'll start with Colin on this one. Colin, were you surprised how it went down, mate?
Yeah, I was really quite surprised. I mean, I have great respect for each and every professional MMA fighter in the UFC, being that all of them can kick my ass quite easily. Right. So everything I say is of course with that stated. What an interesting combination of this incredible hubris and overconfidence. A man as relaxed and confident as Tai Tuivasa was, to just get his butt completely kicked is such an unusual combination. I don't know that I've seen before. I think this was probably supposed to be a quick knockout for the bigger man and the man who is fighting in his own backyard. He looks like he did hit Spivak a few times hard, but He looks like he had no idea Spivak could wrestle. He had no takedown defense. He didn't know what to do at all when he was on the ground, and so no jiu-jitsu. And it's very strange. It was a very odd situation. I don't know what happened. I don't know whether we'll hear Tuivasa come out saying that he had a torn rotator cuff or both of his hands were broken, or if it's nothing, then I don't know. I mean, Spivak definitely looked like a well-conditioned heavyweight who, the guys from the Eastern Bloc are very tough guys. And, maybe Tuivasa just underestimated him. But I don't know. I'd love to see another fight with Spivak to tell me whether he is just that good or whether some of the criticism I've put out there for Tuivasa was accurate and he was just that bad.
No, fair play, man. Kev, what about you? I mean, we said there, obviously it was kind of expected that Tuivasa would get the job done, but he finds himself on a hefty losing streak, 3 in a row, man.
Yeah, I'm not going to be as nice as Colin was about it, man. Tuivasa is the same guy that he's always been, man. He's sloppy, man. You can see it in his physique. He's a one-dimensional guy, and those guys get exposed, man. I mean, I never thought it was just a given conclusion that Tuivasa was going to knock him out, man. We're talking about heavyweights. And Spivak has one loss on his record. I mean, he's only lost to Walt Harris, and he lost within a minute to him. So, I mean, it was a real quick fight. Before that, before he was in the UFC, he had a notable win over Tony Lopez, submitted him coming in. Tony Lopez is a guy that's been around forever, and he doesn't get submitted a whole hell of a lot. Now that's, and I feel like I knew exactly coming in what people want to talk about this fight, and after the end, let's talk about the winner. Let's talk about Spivak.
Yeah,
Tuivasa is, that's just kind of where I'm at with the deal, man. He is what he is, and I want to see Spivak get some more meaningful fights, man. That guy's he's only been in the UFC for 2 fights, and he's looking great, man. I mean, he's coming in with a 10-1 record. Let's see where he goes from here, and let's forget about where Tuivasa goes from here. Let's get him at least off these major cards. He was only on there, and you look at this, man. I mean, at first I thought maybe this should be the co-main event, but there's obvious reasons that it wasn't, man. The guy doesn't have drawing power outside of his home country. So that's where I was at with the fight, and like you said, it was an entertaining card, but name recognition is lacking. I don't think this fight was any different, at least not for me.
No, fair play, man. I mean, you're quite right to say let's talk more about the winner, because I mean the boy here is he's still quite young as well, right? In the heavyweight division, I want to say he's only like 25 or something like that, if I remember the tailor tape right. And it's good to see some fresh blood in these divisions, not just heavyweight but all round, man. I mean, middleweight's looking phenomenal just now, which we'll get to for later for sure. Bill, your thoughts? Let's hear it for this heavyweight fight, sir.
Yeah, I like the commentary on the age, because these guys would be like teenagers in any other division but heavyweight.
Yeah.
26 and 24, that's unheard of. I think the issue with Tuivasa is that he doesn't know what to do when Plan A doesn't work out. And if you look at his record, historically, once the fight goes out of the first round, it goes downhill for him. The only exception being the Arlovsky fight, which I kind of feel like Arlovsky won anyway. I think the judges kind of got that one mixed up a little bit. But yeah, once he hits a little adversity and he's not able to knock you out, then there's no plan B and C. And Spivak just showed that he can weather the storm and pull off a really nice submission. Credit to him for getting that arm triangle up against the cage, where usually there's not enough room to get that, where you have to
especially for heavyweights, right?
Yeah, and he was able to move Tuivasa's body over with his knees, just scoot that 260-pound body over a little bit to make enough space to slide in between him and the cage. It was a beautiful finish. He went out a little quick for a triangle choke, because that's usually a slow blood choke. So it was a little suspicious to me that he stiffened up so quick and then revived so quickly as well, but we'll leave it at that.
Yeah, no, I thought that too, man. I mean, he had the arm straight out, but there was no. He was getting bloodied up, I think, before that as well, and I think he just thought, "Oh fuck it, if I just lie here, the ref's going to pull me off." It's a better
That's
way to
a
go.
possibility.
On his shield, maybe. Who knows, man? Finally, Mick, your thoughts on the heavyweight bout, sir?
Well, first of all, talking of hubris, two things come to mind. First of all, I've just noticed that every single prediction I made on the last show didn't come true. Right, that's the one thing. But in my defence, I was with the Bleacher Report on all of it as well. So we're both both shit canned on that. I literally with Spivak is on this fight especially. Spivak, I literally said. And we weren't even talking about the fight in the prediction fights. I was like, oh man, this guy that Tuivasa's going up against, he lost to Walt Harris, man. What's all that about? Yeah. And then obviously I start watching the fight, and again, as the guys were just saying, first of all, I think it was basically there to make the card look. Well, again, they're trying to make it look Australian. That's the thing to the average fight fan. So that's why they were getting in as many homegrown guys as they could, and Tuivasa, I've always said the same thing about him. He's very, very Jake the Muss, for Warriors, yeah? Yeah, in a fight, in a bar, yeah, great. But he's got no engine after the first round at all. Yep. And in this fight, it just literally showed, man. Like, this is the one thing, when he got to the floor, there was zero attempt that, there was no attempt for an escape. And, I have to admit, what he lost to, they had an arm choke. I actually lost to that in the final last week at the Europeans. So trust me, I know you'll go on it. But still, he just looked woeful, and I feel really bad because as soon as I saw Spivak come out, I was thinking I didn't realise that Alexander Ermolenko's got a son that old, because he comes out and literally he looks like the sort of guy that would be like sharing a room with Dostoevsky in some gulag somewhere. Yeah. He looks like stereotypical Eastern European gangster.
He does look like War and Peace, yeah.
Well, yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? I was expecting halfway through the fight for him to start going, Kaiser Soze, Kaiser Soze. Like that. I was like, this guy's a proper gangster. And I feel really bad because, I just went straight for the stereotypes. And then, he gave to us an absolute beating. Like it was like watching the 90s again. It was a God's honest truth. It's like the early days of MMA where you go, there's a guy who just has no idea what the fuck just happened to
Nothing.
him.
Right,
you know what I mean?
He struck me as a kind of guy. I mean, I haven't seen any training footage, but Tuivasa strikes me as a guy that hits the heavy bag, doesn't like being the nail. You know what I mean? Like wants to just get in there and get the job done quick.
That's like at one point. All right. Apologies to any of the guys from Eastern Europe who are listening to this, but halfway through, I was thinking instead of the water bottle, he was just going to be munching on a raw piece of beetroot. You know what I mean? That's how badass Eastern European he looked, and he looks like he's a very, very Spartan sort of training guy. But God Almighty, I thought he looked good, but again. Is he good, or is just Tuivasa just
That's
awful?
The question, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I'd like to see. Let's put it this way: whatever way it goes, he deserves to start getting some decent fights now.
For sure, man. For sure. Let's move on to co-main event, guys. Set up a potential fight of the night by me, and we may see the Hangman propelled into the top 5 of the lightweights now. They got the job done, convincing fashion. Dropped Al a few times. Called out Dustin Poirier. Flawless performance, man. We'll start with Colin again on this one. Colin, your thoughts on how Hooker performed?
Hey, it was a great performance. I'm kind of baffled about Al Iaquinta. He has this brilliant performance with a win over Kevin Lee. He has this quite impressive performance against Khabib on just a week notice. And then looks like a completely different fighter in getting dominated by Cowboy Cerrone and then smashed by Dan Hooker. The Cerrone fight is really the most perplexing, and then perhaps the some of the damage and the experience of the Cerrone fight led into what we saw with Hooker. I think that is possible that he just got hit too many times and that damaged him. Why he was so bad against Cerrone, though, I just can't understand. I was was concerned that was going to be the case. I mean, Hooker is riding a good win streak. Perhaps there was one loss in there, I think, but he has several wins and is looking great and is in his own backyard. And Iaquinta is was coming off getting completely smashed. I was impressed with Hooker. I could not believe that Iaquinta wouldn't try to wrestle more, and his wrestling was so ineffective. I think this was a bit of a shot Al Iaquinta really in there, and probably had jet lag on top of his career being past the peak. And it didn't surprise me at all. I think that Hooker is a tough guy. I know he's a good friend, fellow New Zealander with Adesanya, who spoke very highly of him. In fact, even Adesanya saying that he'd love to see Hooker headlining a New Zealand card. I don't know if we're quite there yet with Dan Hooker, but he was impressive. Not a super exciting fight. He's not the most aggressive fighter. Great counter puncher. He fought a really good American wrestler, just the way you should. But I think it's also an American wrestler who was kind of shot. I don't know. This was one of the ways I could see it turning out. I hoped it wouldn't turn out that way, not because I really cared who won or lost, but I really was hoping that Al somehow could put the Cowboy fight behind him and look as impressive as he had in the previous wins that I mentioned, but he didn't. And so to me, that fight just doesn't represent a lot and isn't, it doesn't determine anything more about how good Dan Hooker is. I think against Dustin Poirier, he possibly gets knocked completely unconscious. And if he wants that fight, I wouldn't want it if I was his management, and I don't think he'll win.
Fair play, man. Knocks out unconscious. Oh, the call.
Thanks.
Bill, what were your thoughts on Hooker and Iaquinta here, sir?
Yeah, this was a disappointing one for me because I've spent a lot of time with the guys at Law MMA, and I actually got to sit in on some of the sparring sessions that Al did for this fight, and I thought he looked phenomenal leading up to it. So it was disappointing to see it work out this way for him. I think it's just a bad stylistic matchup for him, just in the same way that Cowboy was. Two long, rangy guys that are good at controlling distance and have some pop on their punches. I also think that those low calf kicks from Hooker kind of disabled a lot of Al's wrestling.
Oh, yes.
Fight.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
So that was a big factor. And I mean, I still admire the toughness of Al Iaquinta because Dan Hooker threw everything at him, including the kitchen sink, and he couldn't put Iaquinta away. He's a guy who's swinging up to the last bell, even though he's losing pretty much every minute of that fight.
Yes.
I thought Hooker looked great. I don't know about the Poirier fight. Personally, I'd like to see Dan Hooker and Paul Felder. I think that would be a fun one. And I don't think this is it for Al. I think he just has a style matchup that doesn't work for him, and he's got to go to the drawing board and figure out, he had a small window for success here. He had to close the distance with Dan Hooker without getting into the clinch with him. So that's a very small window for success against, a guy with the frame of Dan Hooker at 155. And I think that's all it was for Iaquinta. I don't think he's shot yet, and I think Hooker looks good as well. And I think he's going to make a big jump in the rankings, and we'll see how he does against top competition now.
Yeah, Hooker's performance it reminded me a wee bit like Rory McDonald, very calculated behind the jab, leg kicks, keeping things at range, and clinch if you need to. It ticked all the boxes, man. It was just a flawless display. Mick, how about you? You want to see this Poirier Hooker fight, Mick?
Oh. No, I would like to see that. That would be a great fight. The guys have just they've totally hit the nail on the head there, because I was looking at it and halfway through probably the first round where he took that first kick and then every opportunity he switched in his lead, and it was just like every time he switched back he got battered. So like he put that to bed probably about halfway through the second round, I think, where he just went southpaw for the rest. But Hooker had his number. He knew that he wouldn't be able to get in there, wouldn't be able to get the range. I was really, really upset about this because I'm a bit of a mark for Iaquinta. I've always liked him anyway. But again, it's pretty much the same sort of setup as, going against Cerrone. When you're going up against a rangy guy like that, and, so some of the times that he shot for the single, it just looked pitiful, literally it just didn't look like him. And I'm really so I was a little bit upset to see it happen, because he just didn't look like the same guy. That, when you talk about, just one fight. Yeah, I don't think he's been the same guy since Cerrone anyway. But, my friend Chris McMullen, who's at Legends MMA and Fitness in Melbourne, they've been there with him for a couple of weeks. And he was saying he's looking amazing. And I was like, yeah, man, this is going to be great. And then I look at it, and it was literally one of those where I had to look away a few times, because I'm just thinking, this is not good. When you just see the dismantling of an individual, because Hooker had everything, and he fought a great fight for him. And it's like you were saying about Rory, it was very, very similar. And again, it's, is he a draw? I don't think Hooker is a draw. And New Zealand's a limited market, man. You know what I'm saying? So he'd be good there. But against Poirier, geez, man, I'll tell you something. That wouldn't be a fight that I'd want to take first. You know what I mean? That would be if there's nothing left going for me. Because I don't think it's going to end well for Hooker on that one. But it'd be a great fight to watch.
For sure, man. Finally, Kev, I know how much you love Al Quinta and the guys up there. Your thoughts on this fight and Dan Hooker? Oh, we still got Kev? Kev, you still in it? Oh, we may have
I see a symbol for Kevin where it's muted next to KJ. Is that him?
Oh, wait, sorry, brother.
There we go.
Ah, we got you, man. We got you.
No, yeah, I was thinking when the last gentleman was talking, I think we might have like half to a quarter of a Hooker fan over there, but we definitely got one Hooker fan on the panel and me. I like Dan Hooker, man. I thought, kind of looking at the rankings before the fight too, I was wondering why he was so much lower than Al Quinta, or why Al Quinta was so high. But really in the fight, what you saw is Hooker throwing a lot of different looks at him. Al Quinta couldn't think of what the hell he wanted to do, because he was so worried about what was coming at him. And I mean, hell, that counter left hand that sent him down in the second round, that was a thing of beauty. And that's what a lot was giving him problems, is fighting that southpaw. I mean, all the looks that he was throwing at him, and the fact that he was having to deal with that left hand coming from a direction that he's not used to seeing it come from, it really confused him, and he looked lost in it. I think the only reason Al Quinta might be so popular, he's just been around a little longer than Dan Hooker is, man. I think Dan Hooker, there could be a market for him, and I love the fact that he wants to test himself by stepping up and fighting Dustin Poirier, man. But going into the fight, you might see a theme in the future of me being on the show, because I have squared up with the book and I'm playing again. This line was way too tight, man. When I got to looking at it, I thought there's no reason not to take it at minus $1.30 on Dan Hooker. I just thought he was better all around than Al Quinta was, and I ended up being pretty correct on that deal. So let's see what's next for Dan Hooker, man. And it's probably not going to be Dustin Poirier, but he'll get up, whoever it is, man. I believe that guy's going to try to get up. And let's not forget, he did just smoke my man James Vick, who's from an area in Dallas, and so he was on my radar ever since then.
Fair play, man. Main event, we see obviously Adesanya getting the job done inside 2 rounds, man. Dropped Whittaker twice. First at the bell, second brutal left right hook. All set up now in it for Costa and last Hellbender. Exciting times ahead. We'll start with Mick on this one. Mick, how did you enjoy the main event?
No, I didn't.
You didn't know?
Hello.
Yeah, man, got you.
Yeah, I enjoyed the fight. I just didn't enjoy the end. I just have no idea what we were talking about this in the predictions, that it was going to be either Whittaker cementing himself and coming back from these injuries. Realistically, he's only had the Romero fights recently, and I was either he was going to cement the whole legacy, as they say, or it was going to be a passing over. And it was like, right, he wasn't an interim champ, he was the champ, And it was that. Stylebender looked amazing. Just like a couple of times when Whittaker started looking like his old self and he started throwing down, and a couple of those kicks. That time when he just threw that round kick, and Stylebender just literally moved like 2 inches away. And that was the point where I was like, shit, man, that guy is the Matrix. and it was an amazing fight. But again, because I'm a Whittaker fan, I was a little bit upset to see just, if it was a close fight, I could have lived with it. But when you just see somebody so totally outclassed, and it literally is. It's one of those moments where you go, dude, I really hope this is you now, because there's a new sheriff in town. You know what I mean? And the one thing about it is, because he dismantled such a badass as Whittaker, it's going to make this Costa look amazing. And of course, the one thing you got to give Costa is he turned up wearing. All I know is, what was that? I don't know who was more pissed off, right? Conor McGregor, when he finds out that Paulo Costa's raided his wardrobe, right? Because Jesus, man, there's pimp and there's pimp, right? You see that Versace shirt he was wearing last night, but it was the bad mouthing that he came out with afterwards, and he's now talking about he's on about killing him and stuff, and it's going to be a gruesome end and that. And you're like, this is ridiculous. But it's good. This is going to be that. Like, you're not going to have to struggle to sell that fight. I know for sure.
Definitely not. I mean, I wanted to see it after the Romero Costa fight for sure.
But
no matter what happened in this fight, I wanted to see it. And I know you're saying about that trash talk, I'm going to kill you. It's like, we don't really need that. We want to see the fight as it is. I don't know how much that's going to boost sales or whatever, man. But yeah, definitely looking forward to that.
The only thing, John, the only sales it's going to boost are the idiots that I always end up having to sit next to when I go to an MMA show. You know what I mean? Right? You're like, right, okay. Well, who let this douchebag in? And they're not. And the thing is, they're normally wearing a shirt that Costa's given them. You know what I mean? That you can always tell. You walk in, you go, really? Yeah. I don't think loafers are what you need to be wearing today, my friend. But yeah, I was upset, but I was up for the fight. I thought was amazing. Yeah, I thought Israel was amazing. I just thought he was something else. And I've enjoyed the hype train to this point, but now I don't believe it's hype now. I really believe he moves better than Anderson Silva moved when we thought Anderson Silva moved well.
Yeah, you said that in the previous show, man, and I was like, well, I don't know. And now I'm totally convinced. Totally convinced.
Hey, I tell you something. When that literally, when that kick went flying past his head, I looked at it and I was like, wait a minute, it's Quentin Tarantino done like some Foxy Brown mashup with like the Matrix or something, because it was like, God almighty, I didn't know there was a Black Neo. But yeah, it was unbelievable, man. It was great. I really enjoyed the fight. Just feel sorry for Bobby Knuckles, man.
For sure, man. Kev, how about you, mate? I know you were back and forth on your pick. Is this how you expected it to go down, mate?
I'm not. I would say I'm not surprised about it. Not how I expected it to go down by any means. I don't know. I was back and forth, man. I was watching this line, and I kind of liked Whittaker to get in there and make a fight of it, but he never really got a chance to. Israel Adesanya, man. I mean, you always hear the comparisons to Anderson Silva, or the comparisons to John Jones, is who I was compared him to more. But in the actuality, man, he's Israel Adesanya, man. The Last Stylebender is the perfect fucking ring name or nickname for him. What he did, the things he does in there, I mean, you're not supposed to be able to do. The punches he throws, bending backwards like he's fucking doing. It's just crazy to watch, man. It's one of those guys, man. I think Daniel Cormier even said, I used to say it about John Jones, when the guy's fighting, you got to watch it. You got to see what he's going to do next. And I didn't think there was any hype behind him. And I knew he was the real deal. But, we seen Whittaker. And Whittaker had those, he had some mental issues and had some things going on personally with him, including those injuries that, I didn't think we had seen the best of him yet. But you really saw him come in there with one game plan. As much as we saw Dan Hooker establish his jab in the co-main event, Whittaker came in there with dead set, I'm gonna establish a jab against this guy, man. And that was not the way to go. And as he's slipping his head out to the right, I mean, he's leaving himself wide open to the crazy shit this guy's got coming at him. When you're fighting a guy like Israel Adesanya, I really don't think you can have a plan that this is what we're going to do, because you got to be prepared for everything that he's going to do, and you can't prepare for all of it. So you got to find some kind of medium in there, and that's the that's why you don't see guys like that taking too many losses. But yeah, man, I'm definitely on board with this. Is an era. The guy's 30 years old. I think he can run this division for a while, man. I don't think he should jump up and try to go to light heavyweight too soon, man. Because if you go up there chasing a John Jones fight, which I know they can go back and forth. I mean, John Jones is it's going to be a while till you're going to be able to also talk about fighting a guy that's a big light heavyweight. And Adesanya is a long middleweight, and there's no reason why he can't stay down there and run the division for a while. I don't see anybody out there that can give him any problems, and I don't see how Whitaker's gonna come back, man. I mean, and I don't think he was not looking for a takedown. I don't think the takedowns were there. I don't think anything was there, man. Fighting a guy like that is just too much information coming at you, man. The brain does not compute.
That's exactly what I say.
Yeah, and you're going to get lost, man. It's going to take somebody special to get in there and test him, man. And I think he's proved his toughness in that Gastelum fight, man. He's getting nothing but better. The guy he hadn't been doing this for a whole hell of a long time. I mean, I think he's been in the UFC for like a year and a half, maybe. And his kickboxing record is it's quite impressive, man. I mean, the guy's been doing this for a while. So welcome to the Israel Adesanya.
That's it, man. Bill, your thoughts on the middleweight title fight, mate?
Yeah, I thought it was a great performance from Adesanya, and I said going into this fight that I thought Robert Whitaker is the more skilled MMA fighter, and I still believe that. But the thing with Adesanya is he forces you to fight his fight. And I think the most impressive thing about the way he fights is the things that you don't notice. So, yeah, the flashy knockout where he's leaning backwards like the Matrix. But what I was impressed with was he spent the entire first round just downloading Robert Whitaker's every movement, his timing, and kind of forcing him and baiting him into traps without detonating them until it was the exact right time. And that's what really impressed me about Adesanya. And he forced Robert Whitaker to get off his game plan because Robert Whitaker was just moving in and out in a straight line. He wasn't cutting angles like he normally does on the feet. He wasn't closing the distance to try and get a clinch or try and get a takedown or anything like that. It seemed like he was fighting with emotion, trying to take Adesanya's head off. And he was frustrated in there. And that's all due to, the fact that Adesanya was able to make him play those games and make him miss, all the while downloading his timing just to detonate the big strikes at the exact right moment. And overall, I thought it was a phenomenal performance by Adesanya. I feel bad for Whitaker because I think he's not in the good graces of the UFC, with the main events he's had to pull out of because of the injuries and everything like that and the time off as a champion. I think it kind of puts him in the same boat as like a Tyron Woodley, where they're not going to be in a hurry to put him back in to a title shot anytime soon if he stays healthy. So it's unfortunate for Whitaker, but yeah, man, like Kevin said, it's the Israel Adesanya era, and it's an exciting time for the middleweight division. I also agree. I don't think he should be moving up to light heavyweight anytime soon. It's tempting because there's nothing going on at light heavyweight, but there's a lot for him at middleweight to take care of, and I think the meeting with John Jones could come 1 or 2 years down the line for sure.
Exactly. It sets that fight up for a later date for sure, man. And let's not forget, I'm sure Izzy comes in a good bit under. He comes in 183, so for him to go up to light heavyweight, I mean, he would be going up. He doesn't cut a lot to get to middleweight. I know he looks really scrawny when he goes in there, but he seems pretty natural at that weight. And you're right, man. Take care of your business at 185 first, and then look for what do you call it? Super fights, money fights, whatever. Finally, Colin, your thoughts on the new undisputed middleweight champ?
Well, it was something that didn't shock me, but I was really disappointed in how it went down. One of the things people need to remember is that Whitaker is a man who fought quite a while at welterweight. And even though Adesanya a huge framed middleweight. He is a guy that if he stays in the game more than I think 2 more years or 3, probably will be fighting in light heavyweight. So although it may not matter that much, I would not be surprised if Adesanya was 10 or 12 pounds, if you guys over there know the American pounds, or up or close to even what you might say 1 stone heavier than Whittaker. Perhaps I'm exaggerating a little bit, but I think that being the case and the great height and reach disparity for Whittaker to have had a strategy like that just made no sense. And he started to look like kind of desperate as he was doing it. Like he was thinking, well, this is the game plan. I'm locked into it. I'm going to try to strike with a former great kickboxer who's a bigger man than me, taller, rangier, and faster. And I just don't see how that was the plan. I think that he's supposed to be a good wrestler. He's not an American Division I type of wrestler, but he's a good wrestler, better than Adesanya. And for him not to have tried even a single takedown, not only that, but there's such a thing as threatening with takedowns, touching your opponent's thigh or side of his leg. Mm-hmm. Show him that maybe you're thinking of it, faking a couple takedowns. He didn't do any of that. That stated, he was throwing hard. He did hit Adesanya a couple times. Yeah, I just think that strategy was bound to lose. Not for him being not a good fighter, but because of how good a fighter Adesanya is. Impressive guy. Almost a similar attitude, funny enough, as John Jones, I find, which is almost like a guy who is extremely cocky, but yet says things to imply that he's just a very humble, centered, regular guy, which is always kind of a little bit of a conflict because you can't be both. Either You're a super cocky guy or you're not, in my opinion. So anyway, I do think that unless Whittaker were to employ a completely different strategy, he probably would never beat Adesanya again. Be that as it may, Paulo Costa, you guys may know I did an in-person live 30-minute interview with him, and he's a really nice guy. 28 years old, so I would even say a nice kid compared to my age. And so I don't know that some of the heel stuff that he's, throwing out there is really who he is, although they say the same thing about Colby Covington. I don't know. I do know that Costa really wanted Adesanya to win. He thought Whittaker would win. He mentioned on my show in the interview, but he wanted Adesanya. I think that'll be a really interesting fight. I'm excited for that fight. I think Costa hits harder than Adesanya, but will he be able to handle the style, the trickiness of the matrix that is Israel Adesanya and the movement? I think Costa is maybe an inch taller than Whittaker, although they're both listed, I think, at 6 feet. But I think he has a bit longer reach, bigger shoulders than Whittaker. He hits harder than Whittaker. I'm really looking forward to that fight. I'm excited to see it. I can sometimes be biased when I have a really good chat with someone on my show and find that they're really nice and respectful of me and our show. And so I'm cheering for Paulo Costa. He's a good guy. I think he can win. I think it'll be an exciting fight, and hope it's going to be soon. And I think Adesanya, should he lose to Costa, may think of light heavyweight sooner, but otherwise I think he would probably do what John Jones did and stay down at middleweight. Last thing I'm going to say is that even though there may not be a lot of action up at light heavyweight, so to speak, there are 3 very tough guys. There are 4. You've got Johnny Walker, who's fighting coming up against Corey Anderson, I think it is, right? You've got Thiago Maheta Santos, who, were it not for a bad knee or both of his knees damaged in the fight. One coming in damaged. He could have beat John Jones, and then I think what do you call him? There's one other tough guy, the Russian guy. Can any of you come in with that? Who's the guy?
The Polish guy, Blankovic?
No, it's another guy who recently had a couple really good wins up at light heavyweight. Anyway, I've forgotten his name, but there's some tough guys. There's some very tough guys. If I remember it, I'll perhaps shout it out. But anyway, I don't want to drag it on too long. But those are my thoughts. Exciting fight. Would have loved to have seen it be more competitive, but it wasn't meant to be. And props to Israel Adesanya for the great victory.
Yeah, it's his time for sure, man. And guys, it's time for the final part of the show, and it's my favourite answering fan questions. I'll remind the panel of the one rule we have on the show, and it's simply don't wait your turn. The floor is yours, so let's get into it. We'll start with Twitter this week. We've got at Else for Elf asking Kane versus Brock Lesnar 2. Who you got? I don't know. Ask the booking team.
If it's supposed to be in professional wrestling, then I think Brock's knowledge of the crazy things that they do and the dangerous things that they do would probably be Brock winning with style points. And if it were an MMA fight, then probably Kane wins again. Although it'd be closer than it was.
I'm saying Mick Foley for the run-in on this table. I want to see tables. I want to see ladders. I want to see chairs.
Yes.
I want to see
fire.
Donald Trump. Yeah. Donald Trump come in halfway through.
Jesse Ventura, maybe. In the body.
No, don't put me on Jesse. Jesse Ventura, man. That guy, every time, you can tell when he's lying because his lips are moving.
That's brilliant.
I will say, believe it or not, I think Lesnar, if he applied himself, that's the truth. But having said that, he's married to Sable, the wrestler. So trust me, man, I would never be in the gym if I was married to a woman that hot. And I'm just going to be terrible there. But that's the truth.
As long as Kane wears that mask to the ring, man, I'm with it. Whatever no holds bar rules or mixed wrestling, or whatever the fuck it is.
Now I saw what you did there. You're on about the Undertaker's brother. Not the guy with brown pride tattooed on his chest.
There you go.
Oh, man. I knew that was a question.
Yeah, I don't get it, man. Like, Kane's doing this, but he was blowing his knee and his shoulder out just fucking training for a fight, but he's doing pro wrestling. How is he not going to get into it? I don't understand this, man.
He's busting out Hurricane Ranas, brother. This dude is fucking... You see that shit? He looks legit, bro.
Well, one of the answers to that is... One of the answers to that is you're allowed to take substances that improve recovery.
Allegedly,
and, cover up injuries.
I really hope you're not saying that professional wrestlers juice, are you?
I would never say that, right?
Come on.
Some MMA guys too, right?
Please. You're not saying that Vince McMahon, that 74-year-old dude who is jacked, man.
Yes.
He looks like Joe Rogan's wet dream.
Oh yeah, and it's funny you point out that this will show my age, but about 25 years ago, even a bit longer, maybe 30 years ago, and I'll say I was quite young then. Vince McMahon at about 6'1" was about 160 pounds in the U.S. Weight, and then he went away and didn't appear on camera for only about maybe 60 days, and he came back and he was 220 pounds of muscle.
I love that you said 60 days. That's what it says on the tub.
But
that's like determination to me. Nothing but determination.
Yeah, that was vegetables. What are you talking about?
No. Do you know what that was? That was all of the rival promoters that he ate up and chewed out in 60 days. That's what it was. He just went in there and he just took over those territories.
Yes.
Definitely.
As he did. Exactly true.
They're all on steroids, allegedly.
Oh, yes.
At Shelley48PQ, did Bisping really fight all that time with one eye? So, yeah, I saw that video too, man. That was horrific.
I hate to be the first on this one, but I've been aware for probably 3 years that he only had vision in one eye. I'm not going to say who told me, but I do have some friends in this industry, and I wasn't told that there was anything like a fake eye. but I was told that Michael Bisping only has vision in one eye. So I've known that for a few years, and I wasn't going to put it out anywhere in the media, and I did not. But that was something. And so I actually watched him fight against Luke Rockhold with that knowledge, and that I was cheering for him to win with that handicap he had. And I was so excited. I was there in person, and me and one of my buddies were jumping up and down for Bisping winning, because all the other guys standing around us and girls were for Rockhold, and we stated before the fight that we're for Bisping 100%. And inspirational guy.
Awesome. That's
nothing to do with the vision thing, man. I was just love Michael Bisping because it seemed like everybody else hated him, and they kind of turned him into the villain. And now this happens to his eye. Nobody wanted to have any. I don't know. Maybe we'll get some sympathy votes now, but Michael Bisping has been my guy, man. I love that dude. I'd watch him fight with no vision.
Mike Bisping has had that. I know. Actually, for a fact. That is the truth about the eye, right? So that's the first thing. I first met Mike when he was back fighting, just before he went into the UFC house. Do you remember when they used to do like Big Brother, and they'd get drunk, and was Lieben trying to triangle a guy on the pavement or the sidewalk or something? I can't remember. It was years ago now.
I remember just let me bang, bro. I remember that guy.
Yeah, remember? Yeah, come at me, bro. Yeah, well, I met the guys who used to run Cage Warriors in the UK at the time. Two of them were good friends of mine, and I actually met Mike Bisping just after he came back from that, and it hadn't even been aired, but I knew that he'd been over, and he was a badass then. And just to say, when there was so many haters when it came to Bisping, they did, because a lot of them came from the UK. Because we would we would much rather have a guy who would at least try and be, like a plucky, like the plucky guy that has a go. And if he fails, then so what? Yeah. Whereas Bisping's like, no, I'm going to go in there and try and kill. And like nobody was more shocked than me when he dropped the Rockhold and got that, because I was like, I would never ever call him a journeyman, because he certainly wasn't. But he was a guy who would take a fight when no one else would. Yeah. And then obviously it's a proper fairy tale for him. I'm so happy that he's successful now with the UFC gyms and the pundit work and stuff, because nobody really, I think the only person at one stage that wanted Mike Bisping to be successful was Mike Bisping.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's how it
and
worked.
Kevin Jones.
The only thing that's really baffling about the eye thing, if he had been fighting with just the one eye, is how he hid it from the commissions. Because we've seen fights recently where if a guy says he can't see out of one eye, they stop the fight. So, I just wonder how he passed those medicals, like leading up to all his fights.
Good question, man.
Determination, brother. That's that hard work and determination.
Deception.
Commissions probably didn't expect anyone would want to fight with one eye. They just probably never looked for it, and he probably could do the eye test if it's like for the driver's license with one eye. But they probably didn't think to look directly into his eye to see if it was perhaps a fake. They never thought about that, but now they might.
Most of the shit's in Vegas, man. They probably just slip him a couple hundreds and make sure whenever they do his eye test, don't cover the right eye or the left.
That very well, yes.
Are you actually calling out the Nevada State Commission and saying that they can be bought out?
The only one more respectable than that is the Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation that handles our shit.
Everyone's got a price, brother. We're discussing terms,
That's it, man. This next guy's definitely trolling me, but I'm reading his tweet anyway. At Drop Toe Maestro tweets, Israel Adesanya skinny, he no big muscles like Costa. He no Michael Jackson, why dancing? He no experience. He no jiu-jitsu. He no chin. He no knockout power. He no cardio. He no champion.
Interesting.
You
go to
know
English class.
Twitter.
Yep.
You know shit.
Yeah. That's a tough one. Who's going to jump in and respond to that one first? I don't know. I think that maybe this guy is the new champion. We ought to see if he's ready to come out.
I tell you what, he is the champion of grammatical English anyway.
Yes.
I think adjectives, man.
I think
I'll say this.
Guy that tells me he's in the IRS all the time.
If it were to happen today, Adesanya beats Michael Jackson in a dance-off.
Yep.
Thank God you said dance.
One is dead.
I thought
That's
we were
why.
going somewhere else.
One is dead.
Something else off. Yeah.
What do they say? 3 may keep a secret if 2 of them are dead.
Wow, man, we just went fucking dark. Jesus, man. I tell you, man, I was just about to make a Michael Jackson remark there, and I thought, no, Chappelle got hammered on Twitter over that. But come on, man, it's Michael Jackson, right? Yeah.
Right. This is one of my dad jokes.
Oh, that's another 1 star for the iTunes review again.
There you go. Right?
Yeah, hey. Do not ever piss off a Michael Jackson fan, man, because those guys, you will end up chained to the radiator listening to Billie Jean. I'm telling you.
Exactly. Or Thriller.
Yeah. And Bubbles the monkey sitting beside you, looking manically depressed. And you ask him why, and he goes, "I'm wearing a pair of fucking dungarees and I'm a monkey. No wonder I'm depressed."
Love it.
Right, let's move on. At McGregor Rousey, things I've learned from UFC 243. Israel Adesanya is the best striker in the UFC right now. Alaquinta is insanely overrated, and Adesanya's fan base has potential to grow. Sorry, I'm still thinking about Bubbles with the dungarees.
Is this Rosie McGregor? Is this Connor's wife that's writing? Hi, Mrs. McGregor. Tell Connor hello for us.
I can't even get to this one right. So the last one was Adesanya's fan base has the potential to be more annoying than Conor and Khabib's put together. Whew, that was funny. There you go.
Well, I don't think there's going to be much of a fan base for Israel Adesanya, man. I think he's got that personality that's going to start rubbing people the wrong way really quickly and starts racking up wins. And I was unaware that there was a big Ally Quinta fan base. Until I got on the show, of course. Everybody loves Al on the show.
Yeah.
But no. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. I forget what the last part was. Or the first part.
I just get this vision in my head. Has anyone seen the Leaving Neverland documentary where the guy pulls out... I don't know if you guys have seen that. You've seen that documentary, the Michael Jackson accusations, right? Someone help me out.
Yeah, man.
And the guy pulls out the jewellery box with the rings. And I'm just getting this vision of Bubbles with the dungarees sitting pulling out a bunch of jewellery. And I don't know why that's so funny, but it's just, it won't leave my head.
Hey, here's a quick sidebar, man. When I used to do stand-up comedy, I used to do a bit about if I won the lottery, I wouldn't let it affect me, like Elvis. So I wouldn't go around wearing massive jumpsuits and eating hamburgers. And I said, I'm already eating hamburgers. I'm not wearing the jumpsuits, and I'm not going to dive off the toilet, out of my head when I'm 42. I said, but I am going to do the Michael Jackson thing. And then not the interfering with children allegedly bit, because you have to throw that in. I said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get myself a chimpanzee. I'm going to dress it up in dungarees, and I'm going to walk around with it as like my court jester. And then if anyone ever asks me, saying it's so cruel to have this chimpanzee, I'll say that it's actually my child, and it's actually my kid, not a monkey. And that everybody was booing and giving me a really hard time about it.
Great.
Yeah. So then I pulled out. I used to have a picture where I used to pull out, and it was a picture of me with 3 chimps that I met at a circus once. And I said that they were my kids. And I said, "You bunch of bastards, man!" I was going crazy. Yeah,
that's funny.
Yeah, but unfortunately, up until the point that. Did you guys ever see the woman? She got like $60 million. She got the face eaten off her by a chimpanzee.
No, she got $60 million.
Yeah, she looked like Gary Oldman in the end of that shit movie that was with the Silence of the Lambs. Where he got fed by the pigs. Well,
anyway, I like Gary Oldman. Dan, I like that movie.
Did you like that movie? Shit, man.
I love all those
my
movies.
house. Hey, I'm Princess. I go Princess Bride and straight on that. Yeah. So anyway, everyone loved the chimpanzee until they realised that chimpanzees bite the face off you. But yeah, my stand-up comedy routine was around Michael Jackson, and I never even made one joke ever about the very, very, very serious subject of those alleged allegations about him.
Yeah.
Which I'd just like to say, just in case any Michael Jackson fans are listening to this and they want to come around here and chain me up next to Bubbles in a pair of fucking dungarees. You know what I'm saying? Just anyway.
Back Gary Oldman. I thought you were going to say Gary Busey. I didn't think you were going to say Gary Oldman when his face
man.
Anyway, let's move on. At Wikipedia Brown says, fuck Nadia Brown, reaches for the high five, then kicks her opponent at the same time. Feed that bitch to some killer. I didn't see this, but I heard this was the rumour. She went to do the high five.
Keep yourself prepared at all times, brother.
Well, I mean, that's it. That's what they
This is a fight.
Yeah,
this is a fight, man.
I thought it's a shitty move, but at the same time, Kim missed weight, so fuck her.
Right.
Do you know what? All I would like to say is there any chance you can give me this guy's Twitter handle? Because first of all, I'm going to follow him. And secondly, whenever I need anybody to pay up outstanding bills, man, I'm going to get that mofo sending those letters. Because my blood went cold when he started throwing those threats out a minute ago.
Oh, yeah? Wikipedia Brown, Mick's coming for you, mate. He's coming for you.
Oh, man. Yeah, Twitter war, man. Postcode beef. Let's bring it.
That's the man. Okay, let's move on to the Facebook questions. Kieran Cobley asks, with last night's huge gate, will we see the UFC increase the amount of events they do in Australia?
They're doing them at the big stadium down there, right?
That was 50-odd thousand.
Yeah, that's a lot of 60. That's a lot of seats to sell, 60, man. Right? I don't know what the gate's like down there, but you know they got a. I don't think you're going to see any more or any less. You know, I would agree. I think they've opened that market up. That market's open. They got a little niche in there. They're going to go there certain times a year and sell out those big stadiums, put all their local guys on the card, and sell those tickets, man.
Yeah, 3 to 4 times a year, maybe.
Yeah. Agreed.
You're not
going to see like fight night shows going over there, you know?
No,
not anymore. No,
it'll be marquee. It'll be marquee shows there now. Did any of you guys notice though the amount of just random chairs that were put out there? Did you?
It looked bizarre. Yes, I did. And how about the wide open spaces between the expensive seats and the cheap seats?
Oh, that was what they ran out of chairs, man. I tell you what, the last time I saw something that badly organised was, do you remember when the Moonies had like 10,000 people all marry each other at the same time? It was the same sort of setup as that. Very rare, very, very strange.
Yeah, it really did look weird. It was the longest walk ever from the dressing room to the cage.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that was the road work, man.
Yep. Didn't have to run. You warmed up with walking.
At 5 o'clock in the morning as well for those poor buggers, or whatever time they were on it. Matthew Penny is asking, is it time for Tuivasa to be cut? Shows no improvement each time he steps out. We kind of touched on this earlier, but do you think he'll get cut?
I think it ties back in the last question. I mean, he sells down in that market, and the deal, man. It's not that the best fighters are in the UFC. You know, they're just like any other promotion, man. They got people attached to them that they think they can sell. Or they can sell one day.
Yeah.
So, I mean, should he be cut? I mean, I think someone mentioned that he was in the top 20, ranked in the top 20 or some shit.
Yeah.
The UFC rankings, I mean, shit. And the UFC, if you added up all the heavyweights fight, I mean, he's probably not even in the top 30.
There's only 19 heavyweights on the roster.
Right? Yeah. You know what I mean? So, no, you lose him or not, I mean, they're probably not going to cut him. You know,
no, they'll keep him. They'll give him somebody he could probably knock out and do his disgusting shoey, and then he'll be right back on a main card.
Yeah. That's, you know, that was the most takedowns. It was almost a record. I think the guy took him down 8 times in a heavyweight match, and 10 was the record. And this was a guy who didn't look like that good of a wrestler, and wasn't a Sambo expert, and wasn't an American collegiate wrestler. And that one of you pointed out, it looked like a match from the 90s where it was a complete striker who knew nothing about wrestling or takedown defense, and every time the other guy got near his legs, he easily went down, and that was baffling to me.
Shit, more like a pro wrestling match from the 70s, man. I mean, Tuivasa got that big ass fucking base on him.
Giant haystacks.
It's got to be hard to put your arms around, more so than the average heavyweight.
But the only thing that I listening to you guys when you were talking there about should he get cut, and protecting the market and having a name and stuff. Literally, I don't think we're that far away from the UFC. Just going like Bellator, Bellator old school pride, just putting the Gong Show fight in every now and again, just for the spectacle more than anything, because it's pretty much a juggernaut now. So they've toed the line and kept it pretty.
Are you suggesting they bring Bob Sapp back and put him against Tuivasa in Tokyo Dome?
I tell you what, Bob Sapp, I would pay money to see that. Yeah, but Bob Sapp's ace, man. What's not to love about a guy who's as big as a house?
Yep.
You know, like I'll tell you something. You ever want to see something crazy? Go to Japan and just be in the same town as that guy.
Yeah,
literally.
Superstar there.
He's a rock star, man. Yeah, Bob Sapp would be good.
Nogueira.
Shit, if you put both of them in the ring, if you put both of them in their ring and added Dan Severn in a triple threat match, I got Dan Severn at a 2-1 favorite.
With those shots.
Do you know how tough Dan Severn is? Dan Severn is the only straight man that still rocks that fucking Freddie Mercury mustache. You know what I mean? There's levels and there's levels, man. You know what I mean? He's still rocking that. He's still rocking that porn star mustache.
Yes, he is. He can do it. No one talked in front of us.
Him and Don Fry. I'm sure Don Fry still got his Burt Reynolds.
There you go. Well, they're good friends too.
They're in. They're like in some sort of mustache aficionado club, you know.
Tom Selleck in there.
Yeah. No, we're talking.
Hey, we've got
Hillary Clinton. Sorry, we're just talking about people with mustaches, right?
Dolph Heffernan is asking, rate Megan Anderson. Is she bang average or just needing time to settle in?
Just to be clear for everyone listening, knowing this question has nothing to do with fighting, but can go ahead and continue with the answer.
That's what I thought. I saw the question. It's ask us if she's bang, and I don't know if this new terminology, but I feel like it's self-explanatory. So I'm looking at it as I'm driving in the car, and I had to think about it for a second. You got to think about it for a second. The answer is no.
Yeah, well, when I saw the bang average, I was thinking, well, there's between her and Rowdy Beck Rawlins, and she's nowhere near bang average. You know what I mean? She's 6 foot tall, quite good looking. On her fighting ability, I think, just to be serious for a minute, she's the one who will admit that she didn't enjoy competing and she didn't apply herself. I actually watched that fight. She wasn't really fighting anybody of any real note, but the triangle looked good, and she looked like she was pumped after winning it. And that's a division where like five women in it. It's like I think there's more women on. You guys got that show, The View, haven't you? We have it called Loose Women. We just have like angry housewives sitting around the table.
Yeah. There's literally a show called Loose Women.
Oh yeah. That's their version of The View. That's it.
Yeah, that's
you're fucking kidding me.
No,
you're Oh my god.
For real? Yeah, but trust me, if they were loose, you wouldn't be interested.
Exactly.
Because when you watch it, you get free hormone replacement patches just to watch it. That's how all these lassies are.
That's funny. I had Megan Anderson on an interview early in our show's existence. This is in 2017, and so granted, no one had heard of our show then. It didn't look quite as professional as it looks now, but she came on and was in her bedroom. Looks like she was wearing her pajamas and her hair a wreck up, nothing, no makeup, no hair, and she was distracted so much being that the cameras were showing a split screen and other things, and she couldn't look at us. She was looking up at the ceiling half the time. It was one of the most disastrous interviews ever. Thank you to Megan Anderson.
This is one whole section that, John, you're just going to have to cut.
Yeah, you're going to cut this part. Yeah, cut.
No, man. I'm leaving it all in. Michael Jackson and Bubbles. It's all getting left in.
There'll be a ton of dudes saying, there was a load of guys and they were sexist.
Yeah,
exactly.
The last one we got, I got a 1-star review, and me and Mick were talking about Brexit, which everybody talks about, but I think the guy must have listened to his Mick for 5 seconds or something, right? And then that was
really?
He was saying that we were racist and all sorts of shit.
What about the one that me and you did? You know the one
that's the one. That's the one.
Yeah. Well, the one that had the 1-star review. The guy actually sent me a message.
All right.
Because he said, I can't believe you're a Bruce Lee fan and you teach Jeet Kune Do. And I was like, Bruce died in 1973, man. Get over it, man. And he was absolutely fucking raging. He was saying, but you're a martial artist. You should be humble. You should be, I went, I got into martial arts to learn how to kick the shit out of people because I ate a shit sandwich up until I was 16. I said, go and try and find your enlightenment somewhere else, dude. Yeah, so I don't think I'm on this Christmas card list.
Yeah, if that guy's listening, he can go fuck himself. At Mickey Gavan is asking, is Izzy retarded enough to fight John Jones?
I mean, that's Mickey Gavigan. That's a friend of mine. I've got to give Mickey a shout out, man. Mickey came to me first. Mickey started his jiu-jitsu career with me, and he came in chewing gum, and I told him to take the chewing gum out, and he didn't. So, Mickey, if you're listening, you can always come. Answers on a postcard, boys, to where the chewing gum ended up, right? Yeah, but Mickey's funny, man. But yeah, I think he is retarded to take a fight against John Jones, especially if it's John Jones who's doing any recreational stuff, allegedly.
Yeah, he's not ready for John Jones here in 2019 for sure. Sorry to jump ahead of me.
Definitely not, man. And I would what a couple of you guys talked about earlier in the show, man. I don't think he'll be ready after a couple of years to make the jump to light heavyweight. But as far as if it could happen, if he could make it happen at any time, he is a live dog. If he's a dog, he is a live dog in that fight. That man is something else.
For sure,
definitely.
Chris Allen.
If John chooses to wrestle, then he's in trouble. But anyway, continue.
Well, that's the thing. The grappling's the big part in it. But Chris Allen is asking, who's tougher, the Koreans or the Kiwis? I don't know why it's Korean.
How about a Korean Kiwi?
There you go.
I know a few Koreans and zero Kiwis. I'm no help. Not a whole lot. Not a whole lot of immigrants from New Zealand and Korea.
No. All I'm going to say is which one of those two's got a nuclear power. You know what I mean? I'm going to go with the Kiwis just in case I'm on their watch list.
Is feminism a nuclear power?
Korea's got everything, man. They got Tang Soo Do. They've got karate, and they're that badass. They don't even call it fucking karate. They call it Tang Soo Do. You know what I mean?
We fitted those guys out, man. You know, we straightened them up.
Really?
I think Tang Soo Do was one of Chuck Norris's original artists.
But hey, Chuck Norris is still Tang Soo Do, man.
Yeah,
he is still the man. Yeah, you're gonna fuck with that guy? No chance.
Definitely not. You want to throw John? Yeah, you want to throw out John the question of how many people in the United States know anything about Brexit and see what happens.
Hey, you want to know something?
Good for them. I wish I knew nothing about it.
Hey, you want to know something funny? Ask anybody in the UK about Brexit, and they know fuck all about it either.
Exactly. But they're all experts at the same time, man. That's it. We've spoken about this a couple of times, but he's given us a why and how as well, which is Kristen Myers asking, do you think Adesanya stands a chance with Jones? If it's yes or no, why and how?
It's just the X factor. I mean, that'd be the only answer I got for you. I mean, that there's that the dude does strange things happen whenever he's inside that cage, and when John Jones, you know, so. And hell, maybe we've seen John Jones on a little bit of a decline, man. But the fight's not going to happen. I mean, I think we've all established everybody's agreeing that.
Yeah, I mean,
honestly, go ahead.
I'll say this: the most dangerous John Jones is the one that somebody is talking a lot of shit to, and that's what Adesanya is going to do, and it'll probably bring out the most dangerous John Jones.
That's true.
I don't see it. I just can't see it coming together anytime soon.
But to answer the person's question, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Throw this in quickly. To answer the question, if at this point, without giving Israel chance to put on some extra weight and chance to really work his wrestling, if they were saying this fight is signed and has to take place next week, then it's John just big brothers him. Because he would use his wrestling, he would use his size, he would come in, 20 pounds heavier than Israel, if not more, and just, I really think quite unreachable expectation for Israel if this were scheduled immediately. So if that was the question, then that's my thought. If somehow Israel has, 8 months or a year to prepare for it, could be a slightly different story. But, probably would not happen that soon.
Exactly the same thoughts. There's the two factors there, which is, first of all, he just isn't seasoned enough yet, I don't think, in my opinion, to go up against the John Jones. And, skill-wise, just if you look on paper, it's not going to happen. And then the second one is John Jones is pretty much like he's like a dual personality. And it's like, there's one of the guys was just saying there, you talk shit about John Jones, he normally ends up punishing you for it. So, what Israel will go in there and he might be ready for the John Jones who's doing power yoga in the park and chasing muggers, but he's going to end up with the John Jones who's out of his mind driving at 90 miles an hour up the Vegas Strip. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's no joke. John Jones, an angry John Jones is something else, man.
Oh yes.
You know what I mean? He's something else. He's one of the only guys that I look at and go, you know what? He's not. He won't like my quips. I'm going to keep quiet right now.
When has he been angry John Jones in the cage? The only ones that come to mind is Cormier and maybe Rashad Evans, though. Like, those are the ones that it's been really personal. And don't get me wrong, he destroyed both those guys. Don't get me wrong. But that's exactly you just said it, John. It's like, I've seen John Jones a few times, and I've actually thought he was phoning it in. Mm-hmm. When you see somebody, he just isn't going to his full potential. Mm-hmm. And then with Cormier, Jesus. And Rashad, it was like that was personal. That there was points in there where it was almost palatable, the dislike, And I don't want to sound like Goldberg there, but that's the truth. There's certain times where you watch a fight and you just go, God, those guys really fucking hate each other. For sure, man. We'll take one more from Facebook before we wrap up, guys. Brian Schule is asking, does Whittaker get revenge and rematch? I think he should get it if there is talk about a rematch.
I don't think he should because for his long stretches of inactivity, to think he's defended the title like once, maybe. No, this isn't his time, and really, that's the type of fight right there that your camp. If your camp is telling you want to accept an immediate rematch against that guy after what just happened, nah, man, that's not the move to make. You know what I mean? Let's take a fucking half a day off, man. Let's throw a softball at you. You know what I mean? Let's get this dude's mind right. The guy's had mental issues in the past, man. You don't need to get in there and get beat again by this cat, dude. You need to prolong your career if that's what you want to do.
True. I would agree.
If you don't want to do that, then get out of the game.
Yeah, I would agree 100%. He needs to take some time to heal up and fight someone else and get back on track. And so I don't know if it'll happen anytime soon or ever, but I'd love to see him do well. I like Whittaker. Quick thing, the fighter that I had forgotten about that's in the thick of things at light heavyweight is Alexander Rakic.
The Ray Felton.
Yeah. Anyway, next up. Yes.
Yeah. My personal views on Whittaker is with his personal demons, with his health issues, literally. What none of us have actually mentioned tonight was the fact that he was literally saved by the bell. He was saved by the horn in that first round, and when he got banged, that would not have ended well if there was another.
And what he hit him with like two, they call it a hooker cut. I've heard him say in boxing, man. He hit him with two in a row. Who the fuck does that?
I tell you what, if you watch that again, you see his eyes, man. And you're like, what the fuck? Because I saw that, and I felt shortchanged first of all, and disappointed. Not shortchanged because I wanted to see, a big tear up. If it was going to be a well balance between the two of them, but it was like literally when he got that, I was like, God. And then he came out, and I just turned around. I was watching it with my 18-year-old son, and I just said, Bobby Knuckles has got a fucking hell to climb now, man. And then Max was like, I have no idea what's going on here. And if he can get a route back up there, and this sounds really, really, almost treacherous. If he can find a way to circumvent round back up to get himself there, then great, to get into the top three, say. But if he takes an immediate rematch, it's going to be exactly the same thing, and he ain't going to recover.
Yeah, that could be it for him. You're right.
Yeah. Mentally, there's no way. And the thing is, as well, with Israel, as much as I love his fight style, some of the shit that he talks, for a guy who's not in a good place mentally, you just don't want that falling on his ears. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's been serious.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Real quick, I was going to say, I think Israel's got Paulo Costa for sure first. Dana White promised Costa. Paulo Costa told me that he's next. And then I think Gerald Cannonier might be in the thick of things. Israel actually mentioned him as someone he respected. Sorry for speaking out of line. Next up.
No. You're good. Man, what all I was going to say, man, is, just think about yourself and the things that you go through on a daily basis. Whether it's problems with your family or problems at work, things that throw you off your game, and then your game is getting punched in the fucking head for a living.
and that's a recipe for fucking disaster, man. I mean, if somebody, this is things that like they look for and gamblers look for it all over the place, man. Whether it's a college quarterback that's having problems with his girlfriend, or a fighter going into a fight that's going through a divorce that nobody knows nothing about, man. When you have distractions like that, fucking it reflects in your work, and whether you're punching a clock or whether you're getting in between those ropes.
Yeah, and what you got to remember as well, guys, is you're talking about a business where every one of your failures is fucking highlighted. The only job that's worse than this is ice hockey and a goalie. Yeah? Because you let a goal in, not only have you fucked up, but there's a big red light above your head spinning round and 15,000 people going fucking crazy. And, that's the only thing that's worse, because everybody knows that. I really don't think, we touched on it last time we were speaking. On here, it's what this is going to, how it affects guys later on in life, man. You know what I mean? Yeah. And you only have to look at Robert Whittaker, you look at Tony Ferguson, and they're two guys I hugely admire. But I'll tell you right now, I wouldn't fucking swap anything to live their lives right now.
Yeah, no, right. You were right, man, because we were talking about it last time, and nobody ever really wants to talk about this, but I'm glad we did, and we have a couple of times on the podcast as well, like how young this sport is, and what kind of things are further down the line, and there's a potential dark side with the repercussions, the miles that these guys are leaving, and there was a dark side to our humour as well when Chris Benoit came up in the conversation. But I mean, I hate to say it, but there's a potential for something like that here in MMA. I God hope it does not happen, but something like that needs addressed and needs discussed.
John, it's going to happen.
It's inherent. It's just like, boxing set a precedent for this, man. I mean, these problems are inherent with the business that we're talking about. No doubt about it.
Yeah. As long as there's an aftercare program, then great. But again, without putting a real downer as we're coming out of it, you only have to look at the NHL to see. There was he was a guy that I met who was a hero of mine called Bob Probert, who was one of the toughest guys who ever fought in the NFL. And when I met him, he was a broken man. And I looked at him and I could not believe he was the same guy that I was cheering on the TV when I was a kid. And then a good friend of mine who used to play for the Toronto Maple Leafs, who came to play in my hometown in Coventry, he committed suicide at 33. And guess what? Guess what his job was? Skating around and punching people in the fucking head and getting punched back. And then they're like, oh, I wonder why he's got mental health issues.
And it's not just the head trauma either in this sport. I talked to a guy one time before he was coming to a fight, and he was a seasoned dude coming down here to main event from Abilene, and he told me that you're never 100% going out of a training camp. And we were actually talking about Sage Northcutt missing a fight because he had strep throat, and he was making fun of him on the air. But the way you have to train for this sport, you can go in training for boxing. And that guy is 100% ready to roll for these 12 rounds. There's no way you could come into an MMA fight and be 100% healthy. Because the way you have to fucking train, that's it. You know what I mean? Sure. Yeah. It's a different beast, man. And, there's going to be a lot of people that fight for a long time. And, you see it in the injuries they suffer. And that's why they bow out. It's just like the guys in the NFL getting concussions, even back in the day with Troy Aikman. The Cowboys are on TV right now. That dude – he quit. A lot of them guys quit in the middle of the career because of neck injury, because of this or that. This is a dangerous thing you're watching. We're watching two guys try to fucking kill each other, man. Knock each other unconscious within these rules.
But then it comes back to that thing of, and I know this is probably the not exactly a consolation, but the NFL pays so much better than this brutal thing we call MMA. Does that make it all right? I don't know.
Yeah.
That's a shame. It shouldn't be that way.
Yeah, but
no, because 99% of those guys end up broke after their careers because they waste their money.
Living the high life, right?
Yeah, it doesn't make a difference anyway.
Yeah. It's you got to remember with MMA guys, we're learning on the job, man. And I've said this so many times when I teach seminars, man. And there's kids coming up. Oh, I want to be an MMA fighter, and I'm like, right, okay. And I went, we're only literally 2 or 3 bad incidences that can be linked to CTE, and then you won't be able to give away an MMA class. And I've said this to people, they go, but MMA is huge, and I'm like, yeah, so is ninjutsu. You know what I mean? It's like, trust me, we only need a bad one. Train safely. When I interviewed Dan Hardy, I asked him what his toughest fights were, and do you know what he said? His toughest fights were in the rough house in Nottingham training. He said the amount of gym wars that he used to have. Right. He said he's never really got over those. He said that going into the cage wasn't hard. And I know I'm hypocritical about this because I always say the same thing about jiu-jitsu. I compete in jiu-jitsu and nothing's tougher than a Friday night in Warsaw at Gracie Barra. But I know the risks, and not only that, I'm 50, so in 20 years' time, I'll be sucking a Werther's original, man, looking to see if I'll be in the next episode of Cocoon. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I can relate.
I'll be like Brian Dennehy, not sweating, and checking out Raquel Welch's daughter or whatever.
Yeah,
yeah, man.
Well stated.
If you don't know Tony Welch, man, you know shit. I'm telling you.
Oh, hell yes.
Oh. That's a chip off the old block right there.
Yeah, that's an old chip
is indeed.
There you go. Well, there we go.
I had to add that levity there, boys, because I swear to God, I was almost about to put on an Adele album. We were going fucking dark there, boys.
Yeah. But these things need addressed though as well, and I'm glad we get a chance to talk about it because we do joke and say things in jest, but there is a reality there of like what you said, but maybe only one or two bad incidents away from. That's exactly it. You had the nail on the head there, man. It's such a young sport, and we forget that sometimes because of how popular it is. We're too busy living in the now, and as much as we love this sport, we need to look ahead to what could be down the line, good or bad, dark or bright. You know what I mean? But yeah, I like ending on Raquel Welch's Dirty Nicks. That's good, man. I like it.
If you haven't watched Cocoon 1, go and watch it. It's very, very good. And for any of you younger listeners right there, if you haven't watched any of Jerry Bruckheimer's movies, go and watch them. They're great. Your testicles expand by 20% just watching them, right? Obviously, I hope you're over 18 when you're watching that, by the way. That was the disclaimer. And on that, I'm going to go home and watch Con Air.
There's a movie. There you go, man.
Nice. Hey, you better believe it, man. I quote that shit all the time. I'm telling you.
It's the virus.
You know the one where it's where Nicolas Cage is there trying to fire a gun and he's shit. And Sean Connery turns around to him and he says, he goes, Godspeed, what are you doing? And he goes, hey, man, I'm trying my best. And he goes, losers always whine and say they try their best. Winners go.
Had to have been The Rock, man. I don't know any other movie they were in.
Hey, winners go home and fuck the prom queen. Of course it's The Rock, yeah, man. And people say to me, oh, do you know The Rock? And I went, yeah, the Nicolas Cage movie. Right. And they go, no, the Hawaiian wrestler. I go, oh, yeah. I know that Flex Kavanagh. Yeah, he's cool. And now I'm showing what a mark I am, right?
A little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit. Yeah. I live in my parents' basement, man.
Watching The Rock and Con Air. I was trying to figure out if Raquel Welch was in Con Air.
She was flying the plane.
I was pretty sure she wasn't.
Yeah.
1 million years BC. Look for that.
That's it.
With the furry bikini.
With the leotard there, that's right,
yeah, man. I tell you what, I was like that thinking, those Neanderthals are Neanderthals. they like me.
Yeah. Was she not in that second Grumpy Old Men movie? And she looked good in there.
No, that was Sophia Loren, I think.
Oh, man. Well, that's two you get confused.
Pretty close, yeah.
Yeah, those women, they all look the same. They're like Japanese tourists.
Yeah,
like Italian Japanese tourists.
Now you're talking. I tell you what, John. What you need to do is we need to talk about the best martial arts movies. One show. That's the question, actually.
No, you're talking. I had. Do you know what I had last year? We did an awesome show with Eric Paulson, and that's what we spoke about for a good hour because he'd done the stuntman thing and been around, and he was there.
He's in Bloodsport.
Yeah, that's right. He was there at the day that Brandon Lee, when it all went south on the Crow and all that. Yeah, that was a great show. Man. Love that.
Have you ever listened to my podcast with Eric?
No, I didn't know you did.
Oh man, I'm telling you, right.
Send that to me, please.
Well, you're going to love it, right? Because we start talking about the Stargate under the Hoover Dam and decalcifying your third eye, taking ayahuasca. Man, it was the greatest podcast ever I did. It was unbelievable. Eric's something else.
Did he tell you some ghost stories? He was shitting myself when he was telling me his ghost stories in California with his roommate. Oh, man.
Yeah, he's great.
Little anecdote I've got to tell you, which is probably about the only cool thing I've ever done in my life. I went to the UFC in Minneapolis when Lesnar fought Heath Herring. Do you remember?
I was there. You're kidding. I was there.
No way. I was I went to the after party with Eric and Higa Machado. Yeah, Joe Rogan and Eddie Bravo were there, and then Brock walked in with Sable, and I was jet lagged, and I might as well admit I drunk off my ass drunk as well. But in my defence, I blame Higa Machado for drinking vodka and whiskey and Guinness with me for that. But that was like the coolest day ever. But Eric started telling me that there was a disembodied ghost over my shoulder. And I was like, right. And then I came out with a remark about there being far too many spirits in me already.
Beautiful.
Yeah, you know, well, for a drunk Irishman, it was a pretty fucking good quip, I thought.
Well stated.
That's like the coolest night I ever had.
Yeah.
But I got interviewed for who was it? It was one of the big channels. And they heard my accent. They interviewed me, and they really should not have interviewed me because I was like the worst ever. I just came over like a serial killer, you know, because I was jet lagged and drunk. But it was, that's really my only claim to fame. But Eric is something else, man.
I think
love that guy. Send me that interview
Eric on with Greg Nelson as well on my show. Anyway, go ahead, John.
Cool
wrap it up.
Yeah, Greg's
Greg is great.
Well, there you have it, guys. UFC 243 in the books. Great night of fights down under. Great questions from you all, as always. And great guests here on the Roundtable. Let me extend my thanks to our guests here today. Starting with the man who's always over the top, under the influence here at Sober October. It's Mr. Bill Welker. Bill, let everyone know, man, all about MMA on the rocks.
Oh, thanks for having me on, John. I know it's been a while, but I definitely missed doing the show. I appreciate you inviting me back. You guys can catch my podcast, MMA on the Rocks, on any podcast platform, at YouTube, or shoot me a line on social media. I will be the next 2 weeks. I'll be at UFC Fight Night 161 in Tampa, and then the next week I'll be at BKFC, the Bare Knuckle Boxing Championship in Tampa as well. So send me a note on social media if you're going to be at either of those things, and we'll link up and have a beer and have a good time. Thanks again, John.
Awesome stuff, man. To my man, Mr. Mick Tully, always a blast, mate. Let everyone know where to check you out, son, and thanks again for coming on.
You can catch my platform. You catch my my podcast on any of the platforms or on www.micksmartialarts.com. You can also find me on Woma TV. You can find all my interviews on there. We've got some great interviews coming up in the next upcoming magazine, one with Kyvan Gracie on how he's going to use Wing Chun in the cage, and also what his views are on Keenan Cornelius and Hickson Gracie only being a good, tough purple belt. But yeah, catch me on any social media, and I promise I will try not to offend you.
That's so mad. To my man, Mr. Kevin Jones, Kev, it feels like it's been too long, mate. Never leave it this long again, right? But a pleasure as always, mate. Love getting your time.
Oh yeah, no doubt. I'm currently homeless on the MMA broadcasting front, but I am going to be hollering at MMA on the Rocks to apply for. I need maybe I'll start a GoFundMe for a ticket so I can get down there and watch that bare knuckle fight with him.
Amen.
But that's maybe we can start a sweepstakes on MMA on the Rocks. That's all I'm going to represent today, baby.
Superb, mate. Finally, to Mr. Colin Crandall, always delighted to get your insights, sir. Let everyone know where to check out the awesome MMA Power Hour.
Thank you so much, John. It's always a pleasure, and this is a really fun show. I was really glad to be part of. So, MMA Power Hour, if I can talk here, is seen on Fight TV, FITE TV. It's an app you can download for free all over the world, and the show is free. And we'd love to have you jump in and give your opinions and comments. And, of course, that's only if you think the show was great. If not, then we don't worry about comments. No, I'm kidding. You can always give whatever comments you want. We have an archive of about 100 2-hour shows on Facebook, and we're still throwing some up there occasionally. So MMA Power Hour on Facebook, and we're going to be cage side at UFC Boston I'll be there personally. So if anyone's going to be there and wants to connect, we'll have a drink on me, or a lunch or a dinner. And really appreciate the invite, John. Always a pleasure. Your shows are one of the best out there.
Thank you, brother. And if you've liked this podcast, be sure to subscribe on iTunes. We'll be on almost every Sunday talking MMA. Go to facebook.com/Martial Arts Chat. Give us a like there. Or follow us on Twitter @Martial Arts Chat. Sober October is just beginning, and we'll be back with the next roundtable for the previewing UFC 244, the bad motherfucker title in it, BMF title. So hopefully we'll be closer to the end of Sober October by then. So it's another day closer to getting a drink. But in the meantime, I'm John Boy McElroy, and I'll catch you next time on the roundtable.